Hey guys, Matt Marzillo here. In this video, we're going to be going over something called a break-even analysis. And essentially, a break-even analysis is a way to understand how the number of units sold impacts marginal income, right? So we're pretending that we have a small business. We're selling t-shirts. We know that we're selling the t-shirts for $25 a pop. And we want to understand how many shirts we need to sell in order to break even for a month, right? It's a very important number to know. And to get there, we're using a series of very simple Excel formulas, all things that we've already learned, and we're just running a number of them in order to get this very insightful number. And then we're going to extrapolate that down to some other calculations down here. And actually right down here in D19 is where we do the actual break-even amount. So you can see I have several formulas in this spreadsheet, and just to the right of any cell that contains a formula, I've typed in that formula just for your reference, right? So you can tell cell G3 has the formula C3 times C4, and I just typed that in right next door, so you can have that for your reference as you're watching the video. I don't necessarily have to be hovering in the cell in order for you to get that. So hopefully that should help. So we do have some known expenses that we need to put in this table here. So let's go ahead and get started. First, I think I want to explain what this abbreviation COGS is. That's cost of goods sold, right? So we're selling T-shirts, but we're not getting those T-shirts for free, right? There's a cost associated with the materials and manufacturing those shirts. So let's go on to this sheet next door, and we have some information here. So variable expenses. So for every shirt we make, we're paying $6 in materials and $4 in fabrication, making the actual T-shirt. Let's go ahead and take that $10, and we will put that number right here. Cost of goods sold, right? So that's for every shirt we sell, we're gonna have to pay $10 to make that shirt. Now we also have fixed expenses. So these are things that we have to pay every month, right? Every month we're paying for our business license, we're paying our payroll, we're paying ourselves, we're paying for a company car and gas put in that car. Now these are fixed expenses. They may change once a year or so, but month to month, by and large, they're going to remain pretty consistent. So let's go ahead into the sheet next door, and let's populate those expenses. That looks good. Put them in there. Okay, great. So now that we have all of our expenses, our variable cost of goods sold, we have our fixed expenses for the month, let's start playing around with different sales in order to calculate what our marginal income will be, right? So let's say in this month we sold 200 shirts. So you can see it calculated out, and let's walk through the calculations that the break-even analysis chart performed. So first, it calculates total sales, right? So it's simply multiplying C3 times C4. That's the number of units sold times the selling price per unit, $5,000. That's pretty simple. We can understand that. Now it's the cost of goods sold, right? So how much do we pay? We had to pay $10 per shirt. We sold 200 of them. That equals $2,000. That all makes sense, right? So when we subtract one from the other, we made a gross profit of $3,000, only considering variable expenses. Now, when we go down to the contribution margin field here, I'm just essentially pulling gross profit. For the purpose of this video, contribution margin and gross profit are the same thing. So I'm just pulling that value in G4 down to contribution margin. Okay. Now let's look at overhead. Overhead is also synonymous essentially with fixed expenses. So overhead is the sum of C9 through C14, right? So it's the sum of the fixed expenses. So we know monthly right now we are spending a little over $5,000 every month, regardless of if we sell 0 T-shirts or if we sell 1,000 T-shirts. That's the cost of keeping the lights on, essentially, some people call it. Okay, so the overhead and total fixed expenses, that's the same thing. So we're just bringing the value from cell F11 down here into G. I'm sorry, that should be F12. Yeah, F12. Let me correct that. Into G13 here. Okay, and then we are calculating the marginal income before taxes. So it's G8 minus G13, right? So we're taking the contribution margin, which is our income less variable cost, and we are subtracting our overhead. And you can see here it's a negative number. Anytime you see the parentheses, that indicates a negative number. So we are in the hole a little over $2,000 for this month. And that's certainly not a good thing, right? So this first question asks us, do we make money if we sell 200 shirts? The answer is no, we don't. We lose $2,095. Second question is 400 shirts. Well, let's see. I'm guessing it's going to look a little bit better. So if we type in 400 here, that's the number of units sold. Hit enter, and it recalculates everything out. So our total sales are $10,000. That makes sense. We had to pay $4,000 to produce those shirts. That leaves us with $6,000 of gross profit. Gross profit's essentially the same thing as contribution margin. Okay, so it's $6,000 there. Our overhead stays the same, right? It's not changing. That's still $5,095. So when you take the difference between $6,000 and $5,095, we are at $905. Okay, so when we sell 400 shirts, we're making nearly $1,000. That's a good thing. That's definitely a good number to know. So hopefully you're starting to kind of understand the power here of this spreadsheet and this tool that uses a combination of simple formulas. But the real kind of the real point of a break-even analysis is to get the break-even amount, right? We want to know exactly how many shirts we need to sell in order to be at zero right here. That's an important number as a business owner to know. So we know 400 shirts sold will make us money. So some number of shirts sold less than 400, but more than 200 is going to get us there. But let's calculate that out with some formulas here. And it's a series of essentially 3 different simple calculations. What are we making per shirt? What is the contribution margin per shirt, right? So that's simply taking $25 minus 10. So we're selling the shirt for $25. We're paying $10 to make those shirts. So our contribution margin per shirt is $15. So it's C4 minus C6. Let me update this. What is our total overhead? We know that already. Our fixed expenses are the sum of all these expenses here. Okay, great. And then we simply divide one by the other. So we divide our total expenses by our contribution margin. So that would be D18 divided by D19. Let me update that. And we have 339.7 shirts. So if we sell 340 shirts, we should be right around zero as far as our marginal income before taxes. It's not going to be right at zero, right, because I'm going to have to round up to 340. We can't sell 70% of a shirt. But let's go ahead and put 340 in here and see how that checks out. 340. Okay, so we have our sales, cost of goods sold. Everything looks good. Okay, we're at $5. That's about right. That's what we expect, right? So we sell 340 shirts, and we're going to break even. If we sell 339 shirts, we're probably going to be a little bit in the hole. Let's double check that. Yep, that's right. Yeah, so we sell 339. We're a little bit in the hole. We need to sell 340 in order to at least break even, make $5 for the month. Okay, that's a very important number to know. This tool helps you get there, right? So let's extrapolate that down to one additional calculation. We want to know the amount of revenue that we need to make to break even. And that's simply by calculating the contribution margin ratio. So you're taking D17, let me update this for you, sorry, and dividing that by C4. So what's in so D17, that's our contribution margin per shirt, right? And C4 is our selling price, right? So that's essentially telling us how much of each shirt sold is going to our profit, right? So we know that we're losing the $10 we got to pay to make the shirt. So about 60%. So $15 is $15 is 60% of $25. That makes sense, right? You can kind of mentally think about that. That works as a ratio. And then we take the value of D18 and divide it by D20. So D18 is our overhead or our fixed expenses, and we divide that by the contribution margin ratio to get how much revenue we need in order to break even, right? And that seems to check out, right? So if you look at the total sales up here in cell G3, it's saying 8,500 when we sell 340, and that definitely checks out right here at 8,491.67. That's just because it's a little bit off, just because of that rounding error. Don't get too caught up in the math of it all. Just understand how each of the functions plays off of one another, and how using a series of different simple calculations in Microsoft Excel can help you get to important insights. Okay, I think that's about it. I'll hold it here for a second or two so you guys can look at the entire spreadsheet. And thank you. We'll see you next video.